Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big, awesome Thursday. We have college football playoff action starting here in 30 minutes, so it's going to be an abbreviated show. And as always, we get right to football. Cody, how are you, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Big day, long day. Football tonight, football tomorrow, football all weekend, and football right now with friends. And I couldn't be happier.
We're gonna have to get in over on Prize Picks too, so we can get in some Prize Picks for tonight's game, and hopefully the Prize Picks that you sent me earlier for this cockamamie trifecta of women's basketball stuff have already done okay. We'll see what's going on.
I think it's live right now, right? Or did it lose already?
I don't know. Did it lose already? All right. How about this, dude? Let's start out with one Longhorns related thing that I just have to ask you about. What is going on with Carson Beck?
I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to drop final take in here. I was just about to put mine in. So I'm glad you brought it up. Don't have to put one in. Carson Beck, interesting situation, right? Is happens. How many times has this happened now? The previous, I don't know. It feels like every year. Maybe it's every other year, but
I can't.
We entered the season. I'll get to it before. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this,
okay.
But how many times has this happened? Or when we've entered a season. I guess the most notable one was Spencer Rattler. You enter the season, it's like number one pick. And people were like, I don't know about that. But at the time, he looked good. And then this year we entered with Beck and with Quinn. And now it's shifted to pretty much Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Beck declares now he's coming back and transferring. And Quinn, there's obviously murmurs out there. On both sides of the street for monetary purposes. But I think it's very interesting. The one thing that popped up directly was no contact, right? He went into the portal without no contact, so that means multiple things to me. So I was talking to Theo and Maddie about this. They're like, what does no contact mean? It's like no contact means a couple things. One, he knows where he's going. He's following a coach somewhere, right? You saw this like last year, I think most specifically with Arizona with like Jedd Fisch. Jedd Fisch goes from Arizona to Washington. I remember a couple guys going into the portal with non-contacts because they knew they were going to Washington. They didn't want anybody to bug them. They just knew what they were doing. Also, you may see this. I don't know why I keep getting air bubbles in my throat, but like a Zachariah Branch, he's such a high-profile guy. He doesn't want Missouri and Kentucky throwing him offers. He wants to jump in and he wants to call Sark and he wants to call Kirby and he wants to call DeBoer and he wants his schools, right? For Beck, I shouldn't have ate that fish, man. For Beck, his girlfriend is like one of the Cavender twins that plays women's basketball at Miami. And Miami's
Cavender. I haven't seen what they look like.
They're twins, yeah. They're I think they're more famous on TikTok than they are at basketball, but that's here nor there. But anyway, she plays basketball at Miami. The other one that came in was Ohio State, and I think that was more of just like look what they've done with Howard type of situation, and they have all the money in the world. And the third one was Texas Tech because they've spent the most money in the portal this year. So that's kind of what there's the Cavender twins right there. So
which one's Beck's girlfriend?
They're twins, dude. I don't know.
They don't look that much alike.
I mean, I
think they might be fraternal twins. I'm not sure that they're identical.
You're asking the wrong. I'm not a twin.
I wasn't aware of Carson Beck's game, man. Nice.
So I think that's the thing here is like he went in with a non-contact, and there's a couple teams that have spent money. Ohio State's spent money at the quarterback position. Obviously, Oregon has. Tech has spent a lot of money this year, kind of refurbishing their roster, and that seems to be a wild card in there. And then the Miami thing was the obvious one because of what they did with Cam Ward and Emory Williams, who played the second half of that Pop-Tart Bowl and blew it. Kind of seems like a no-brainer spot for him. I don't know, as you know this, I wouldn't say I'm a Miami fan, but I'm a pretty if I'm a fan of anybody the most, it's probably Miami. I don't know how good I feel about it.
Well, my deal is it's like, did Georgia just not want? I mean, Georgia likes Gunnar Stockton better than him because if he's coming back, wouldn't they? I mean, they started the guy all year long. They got to the SEC championship, won the SEC championship. Did he just make a real big screw up by declaring for the draft? Then he got word. He's like, and here's the difference between the word that Quinn's getting and what Beck's getting. Beck was probably getting word like, dude, you might not get drafted.
I don't know about that. I mean, you know what the prototype of we saw this guy at the SEC media days. I think like I think maybe the bigger problem was probably that he wouldn't get to throw this whole cycle. Like he doesn't have the opportunity that Quinn does to go out there to the pro day and the combine and throw the football.
Right. To kind of just to clear everything up and say, oh my gosh, he throws such
Yeah.
a pretty ball. Forget about any trouble we had with him during the season. I just figured people. Why wouldn't he just stay at Georgia? He knows the system. He know like Georgia obviously probably didn't want him. They would have. I figured they would take him back.
Well,
but they're not. But they're not going to. And I doubt. Like, is there other schools you think that would offer him more money?
I think so.
Huh.
I think
I just don't know. It doesn't make it like it doesn't make much sense to me.
when you look at I don't think you compare it to the Oklahoma thing last year, but you can kind of. I think obviously the programs are in different places, but they like Stockton to the mass media and even to like me, I was like, who the hell's a Stockton kid? When you go look at it, it's like he's a high profile recruit at the quarterback position, which doesn't surprise you because it's Georgia, but they like the kid. They get behind him. He didn't obviously perform in the playoff game. It was his first career start, but I think they believe in him. And also, like, I remember a year ago, Jim Nagy was like, basically, he had an invite in the mail, and Kirby was like, I'm not giving the invite to Carson because we want him to come back for one more year. So he was like Jim Nagy, the director of the Senior Bowl, wanted him at the Senior Bowl last year. Wanted him to be in that class. And Kirby was like, no, we got to get this guy back. And now we're a year later, and it's another year in the bag. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm interested to why didn't North Carolina kind of open the door? Like we didn't hear North Carolina's name right away. I kind of thought that maybe would have been one that
Well, it would. I mean, I think that they would take him with open arms. There's somebody that's asking about will he even be ready to play? Chad Gibson, or was that Michael My Business? I can't. Michael My Business. Look at this profile. He said, "You like my new profile pic?" He's got that pic of me at the Rose Bowl.
Nice. That's awesome.
I mean, is it UCL? Like, isn't that a Tommy John surgery? Like the baseball players get?
I don't know if
it's like a 9-month deal.
I'm not sure.
I think UCL is Tommy John. But then again, I am a certified doctor.
I was gonna say I'm not a doctor. I got one in the other room. I could yell, but I don't really want to yell. But I do like the one thing I will say to Carson Beck's credit, the talent at the wide receiver position, they led the country in drops. Arian Smith, I mean, he's going to the Senior Bowl.
That guy stinks.
Dylan Bell, I like him, but he's had the dropsies. He's not a certified route runner.
He gets Branch next year.
So he gets Branch next year. Noah Thomas.
No, he doesn't. Gunner does now. He would.
Who would have gotten, this is the point I was trying to make, is that last year he had Ladd and Brock Bowers, two of the most prolific rookies. Bowers, the most prolific tight end we've ever seen as a rookie. And Ladd, I mean, looked pretty dang good himself. But they also got portal guys in. Noah Thomas, the 6'5", 180-pound receiver from A&M this year, who led A&M in receiving this last year. Zachariah Branch. They also got Talon Taylor, who's a high school kid. He don't look like a high school kid. He's like 6'3", 215, 210. He's like you could kind of look at him like a hybrid. This dude is making one-handed catches down at the Rebels 5-star. He's at the All-American game this week, making more one-handed catches. This is a really good. They got a good crop of receivers. They got a prototypical X in Noah Thomas. They got this weapon in Zachariah Branch, and they got a freshman coming in. And Bell's pretty solid. Give him another year. Like, they're going to have a good receiving core next year. And now they're just like, and Beck just like, had the year with Brock and Ladd. This year was unfortunate. And next year they're going to have a bunch of weapons on the outside, and Beck's not going to be there.
Yeah, it all seems really odd to me, the timing of it all and stuff. And I guess it can happen now because it's like it used to be like when you declared, that meant that you'd been in contact with an agent and you spoke with now they all have agents anyway. And so it's like you can just hop in, hop out, with whichever way the wind blows. Thanks to everybody for being here. Already almost 400 of you guys here in the Specs chat line. As we said, an abbreviated show today because we're going to get out before the Penn State game starts. Cody, do you have a final take, or do you want me to throw up another one of mine?
You can go one more and then I'll go one.
Okay.
All I got is 2 tonight.
Okay. Will Howard ranks where as far as rushing quarterbacks Texas has faced this season? Not that he's Michael Vick, or not to say that he's just, but I mean there is a running element that comes with him.
Yeah.
Where does he rank?
Behind Pavia.
Okay, so behind Pavia.
And I think behind Marcel Reed, only because Reed has like a lethal speed factor that Howard doesn't have. So I think 3rd.
What about Levitt?
I didn't look at him that same way. What did he end up with?
Something.
Yeah, what do you have? He had 13 for 60 in that game.
Yeah. You think Howard's going to go 60 yards?
I wouldn't put it out of the range of outcome.
What about Michael Hawkins?
Didn't he have a 60-yarder against Texas last year?
He had like a 70-yard run, but wasn't that 2 years? Was that last year?
I don't know. I get the years mixed up. One of the 2 years. But, I mean, also Hawkins was, that was his first start. I wasn't really that worried about that side of it. Obviously, he could run, but I would put him 3rd. I'd put him ahead of Levitt. I'd put him 3rd.
And what about Van Buren? Ahead of him?
Yeah, ahead of Van Buren.
I put Levitt at 3rd. I think
as far as overall quarterback talent, though, what about that?
Oh, I just says as far as the rushing quarterbacks, because there's always the discussion about Sark, about what, he's always so worried about these. He's always talking about these guys spitting out on, making sure that just to don't get things dirtied up in the run lanes, to let these guys spit out for undesigned stuff where they can get 8-9 yards a clip. And that's to be like how Dylan Gabriel was. In that game.
I mean,
like how Dylan Gabriel was in the OU game last year.
Yeah. I got you.
I mean, Will Howard can be that kind of player. So I think I put him at 4.
Second best overall quarterback though, behind Klubnik. Ahead of Beck, behind Klubnik, just a touch ahead of Levitt.
I guess. Texas didn't play very many good quarterbacks this season.
They didn't play Lagway.
Didn't play Milrow. They didn't play Nico. Probably.
Okay.
All right, what do you got? Final takes.
Final takes. Hindsight. Playing 2 games was indeed the right move rather than winning the SEC title and getting the bye.
No,
it's a big. This is a big conversation before. Remember,
I'm going to win final takes right here if you're on the wrong side of this.
Well, if you backtrack, well, then you get the automatic L, because you and I both talked about taking the 2 games. We'd rather play the 2 games than play the 1 game.
Obviously, only if you got the 5.
What'd Texas get?
Or whatever. The 5, right?
Okay. That's what we're talking about, right? I bring this up because I vividly remember we talked about it on the show. The next day you went on the modcast and everybody ate you up. Jason and all these guys ate you up because you were like, I think it was Jason Onward. They're like, no, you want the bye. We saw all the teams with buys lose, and we saw all the teams in week 1 advance, get the two easier games in Clemson and Arizona State. And the theory was if you would have gotten an Arizona State or a Boise in one of those 2 games, you'd rather play 2 than play 1 off of a bye.
Yeah. Well, and I would still stand by that, but I'm not going to use the fact that the 2 teams that got buys that shouldn't have gotten buys lost. Right.
That's the whole theory. It's all hindsight. That's the theory. It's like, in hindsight, it was still the right move.
I think if Texas would have gotten the spot that, say, well, I don't know, because I don't know who Texas would have faced in that second round after the bye. Because things would have been jumbled up if they would have been seeded correctly. If Texas would have been seeded at like 3 or whatever, right? Instead of Arizona State,
they would have been 2 if they won, right?
Okay, so if they won, they would have been 2, and plus you get the SEC championship. I mean, the SEC championship, you can hang it in the rafters or whatever.
So,
and then
if you got the 2, you would have had Notre Dame in round 1. Or in your first game.
where were they seated again?
Notre Dame was 7. This is the treatment that Georgia got. Georgia was the 2 and got Notre Dame at the Sugar Bowl in their first game off the bye. This was last week, right? And
Okay, well, knowing that, I would rather take the path that Texas took.
there you go. That was,
but I don't. I'm not going to agree with saying just because all 4 of the bye teams lost that it's bad to get the bye.
Well,
I think the system's bad.
Okay. Well, final takes. Alex is weaseling all way out of the question. Vote. Voting's up. Vote for Brody.
All right, let's see here. Not non-obvious but legitimate candidate to be Longhorns game MVP.
Non-obvious but legit candidate to be Longhorns game MVP.
Yeah.
2 options. Both defense. Alfred Collins and Andrew Makuba.
Yeah. Okay. Why?
Turnovers. If Collins can get you a sack and a sack or 2 sacks, a couple big tackles, maybe a turnover. Makuba, the same thing. If Makuba's, early in the game, I was watching a lot of Emeka Egbuka today, doing a write up for Ostrowatch.com, doing a lot of rookie write ups over there, and I'm watching the whole Ohio State against Iowa and against Oregon, and Howard would leave some balls in some spots, throwing it to Jeremiah Smith, forcing it to Jeremiah Smith, and I think that there's room for a potential Makuba spot if he's playing over the top back there. So Makuba gets a turnover early and kind of shocks Will Howard's system, like he catches him where he doesn't see him. Because there was a lot of situations I've seen on tape the last day from that Ohio State play that he forces that ball to Jeremiah sometimes. And if he does it, and Makuba's back there, that could be your MVP of the game.
There's a good question in chat. Do we know about Abdul Carter?
Abdul Carter, they said was going to play limited. Pete Thamel was on game day 35 minutes ago, and he said that he had yet to take the field.
Man, he was
going to be limited in the game tonight.
You see up close pictures of him. He looks thinner than he does actually on the football field when he's walking out like this. Gosh, he's a good looking guy. But it looks like he's wearing a light wrap on his left shoulder. But it looks walking out like he's going to play. So I know that was clearly something that was big and up in the air. So I think he's going to go. All right. So for me, it's Ant Hill. He's just due, man. He is due for a big game. He's played a little bit down these last 2. He is a guy that they can use in all kinds of special ways. We've seen him be able to he's gotten a lot better with his drops. They've been lining him up in the slot and stuff like that. I think if it's one of those deals wherever he puts it in a weird spot or into no man's land, and they get Ant Hill on one of these fire zone things where he gets his 3-hole drop, maybe shaded over towards one of the what is that?
I didn't mean to show it. I was trying to bring out the background. Sorry.
Okay. The shaded over to one of the receivers that could be slanting in. We've seen him this year on those kinds of plays, like come up with picks and stuff. I think Ant Hill makes a big impact tomorrow. So that'll be my non-obvious candidate.
He's not the highest ranked linebacker in this game. The Simon kid on the other side has been getting a lot of buzz and a lot of helium. I don't know if you saw you probably did, the Ryan Day and the Sarkisian press conference today.
Yeah.
At the Cotton Bowl and the one of the Big Ten or Ohio State writers was like, Coach Day, Cody Simon, and then he goes, Sark, it's Coach Sark, that's number 0. And he made a point. He's talking to Day and he made a point to stop and go, Sark, that's number 0, as if Sark didn't know who number 0 was. I thought that was kind of interesting, and they kind of went a little back and forth there, talking about how both middle linebackers are number 0 and both are playing at a high level, et cetera, et cetera. But it'll be an interesting game to watch these 2 middle linebackers.
Hey, dude, I didn't put this final take in, but let's do a final take about this. Speaking of Sark, well, level of surprise that he didn't shut down anything about being another kicker besides Bert Auburn. He didn't shut it down. They asked him about Bert Auburn and whether it could be here. Let me pull up the exact quote. It was something like, I mean, okay, so it is. So he was asked if he was considered switching kickers. He said, I think ultimately there's a psychological approach that we've tried to use, and there's obviously the physical approach, and then we'll monitor that thing through pregame and make a decision and go.
That's that tells me that we may have a new kicker.
A left-footed kicker, just throw that whole wrench in right before the game.
Well, I asked Ketch and Chad today or what their thoughts were if Bert missed the first kick, would you yank him? And they said no, you can't do it mid-game. But
it seems like you got
to
Stone.
If they already did it and they're just entering the game with Stone, period, there's no flipping. They've been doing it. I don't know.
We kind of heard there was some stuff during the week where both those guys were getting some action and stuff. You know what I mean? I think that it was a kind of a pressure-filled week for Bert Auburn with some little bit of competition. So, like, they're not going to let us know one way or the other. But I just you would have to think that generally the mindset of the coach would be like, look, dude, we're not going to no, if there was no chance or if you I don't know. It's like it's kind of a distressing answer because it's you don't want your kicker, if you know he's going to be your kicker, you're 100% sure, like you're going to run out there with Auburn. You say, no, we have 100% faith in Bert Auburn. Like he's one of the best kickers we've had. He's been clutch, blah, 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 blah.
Like he hasn't win all year.
You know what I mean? Like you don't want to get in his head like that. So
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I found it very interesting. We got like 7 more minutes left, Cody. Do you want to go over to do you want me to go to Prize Picks real quick and we can put some in? And
I want to ask you one question quick though, because this is one that came up. We like talking about dogs on here. We remember last year we took Mike Gundy, the Coastal Carolina coach.
Yeah,
there was an interesting quote today from Mick Cronin, who's one of the winningest coaches in college basketball history. I don't know if I could still share my screen. There it is. So this was him.
But we don't play. We're soft. So don't tell me you want to win. Like just don't tell me you want to win. So don't tell me you want to win. It's crazy, you know. And it's every day. I'm tired of it. It's every day. I have the most energy of anybody at practice every day. I'm upset with everybody in that locker room, my assistant coaches and my players. I mean, I don't need to do anything else. I almost got 500 wins. I'm only 53.
What?
I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. But yet I come in and I have more passion and energy and pride than everybody in. That's the problem. So what the truth of it has been, it's really hard to coach people that are delusional.
Who is this guy?
The hungry dog gets the bone. We got guys that think they're way better than they are. They're nice kids. They're completely delusional about who they are. But we don't play.
They're nice kids, but they're okay. Who is that? UCLA basketball?
Yes.
I mean, it was a bold strategy, Cotton. See how it works out. He just said that he doesn't need to. He's already won 500 games. He's fit, and he's only 53. He doesn't need to do anything else because he's the one that wants to win more than anybody else. And he's got the most energy of anybody on that team. He thinks the locker room's delusional.
Is that wild?
It's unhinged. I don't think he's a dog. I think he's a maniac. There's a difference, right?
I knew I had to bring it up because I was like, I saw it and I was like,
do you think that's certified? That's certifiably bet, you know what, insane.
I knew
every bit of what he said was bad.
Yeah. It was like, I got more energy than them. Like, that's okay. I got more energy than everybody in there. We got to get this thing fixed. They're soft. But then he just goes, they're good kids, but they are delusional.
What do we think about Prize Picks for tonight's game? I got to get some action down on it. I talked about it earlier, man. If the Texas stuff's still up for Trey Wisner over 14.5 carries and Jaden Blue longer than 7.5 receptions. Those are the ones that I like for Texas. So maybe I'll just put those in right now and add it onto the ticket with the rest of these guys. So I'm going to take Wisner, 14.5, 14.5 rushes. Did they take it down after we recommended it on the show today? You got to be kidding me. I'm glad I got it earlier.
No, I have it on mine.
Is it 14.5 still?
Yep.
Okay. And then I'm going to take Blue for longer than 7.5 for the longest reception. And then what do we like for tonight?
I took Riley Leonard. He's at 51.5 rushing yards. They said in the pregame, one of the two things that Thamel reported was Abdul Carter, and then Jeremiah Love is not going to be 100%. He's at 70% or so. They're going to plan to run Riley Leonard 15 times tonight. He had 80 yards against Georgia last week. So
Perfect.
His number's at 51.5.
Anything else that we like? What about homeboy? That's the Ty Warren.
Tyler Warren. His number's at 66.5. He had 63 last week. 16 fantasy points. It's a lot.
He scores touchdowns though. Let me just look and see here. 16 fantasy points. Man,
I might take the soft boy way out of this one. Just take like a 4.5 or 5.5 reception number on him.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm just gonna leave the Riley Leonard one up and see if I can 5x it just real quick. I'll see if I can make 40.
I'm adding Warren 4.5 receptions. It's like a goblin. Yeah.
How much does it even help you?
Where does it go?
Does it take it from 5x to 7x? No way. I'm not doing that.
3x or 3.75x. All I have is Leonard, Wisner, and Warren.
No, okay.
I didn't put Blue in there.
You don't think he's going to have a longest reception of over 7.5? He's only been less than that like 3 times.
I'm not betting on Blue.
Why?
Because I don't trust Sark.
You don't trust Sark is how you trust Sark.
I trust Sark. I don't trust Sark to make my prize picks come true.
Fair,
from a Jaden Blue perspective.
Fair enough. All right. Let's see. Any other final takes? We only got a couple. We just got a couple minutes. All right. How about this one?
You got to have at least one good one. It's a tie ball game.
Okay. Over under 0.5 snaps for Arch Manning. We used to say 3.5, 6.5 stuff. I'm down to where it's just like, does he play one snap?
Only if this thing is bass backwards. So I'm gonna go under.
I say under.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm making we're having chicken tenders for dinner tonight at my house. I was thinking about making up a dipping sauce. I think what I'm going to make
with the kids, you got to make the what the hell fancy sauce. With the kids, you got to make fancy sauce.
What is fancy sauce?
Barbecue sauce and mayonnaise, and you just mix it together.
Oh, my kids would never eat that.
Oh, 100% they will. You tell them, you just make it, and then you tell them to eat it, and then
my kids will say, "What's in it?"
It's gold. It's gold.
They're not gonna eat it. They're just gonna want ketchup, dude. My kids aren't fancy kids.
Well, you can do ketchup and mayonnaise.
Oh, I don't even want that.
It's gold. I'm telling you. The chat has to agree. Fancy sauce as a kid, I mean, with French fries or with chicken tenders or with chicken nuggets.
I think that the best sauce is something where you can mix, like, I was thinking about mixing some kind of barbecue sauce with some kind of like Chinese or Asian like hot honey stuff.
Well, you think your kids are gonna eat hot honey?
It's not really that hot.
They're gonna eat hot honey.
They're gonna eat it before they eat their ketchup mayonnaise.
They're not gonna have barbecue mayonnaise, but they're gonna have hot honey.
Thanks to our great sponsors, Texas Beef Traders. Thanks to My Perfect Franchise. Thanks to Poncho Outdoors. Thanks to Specs. Thanks to everybody for being here, man. On an abbreviated edition of Final Takes. Cody, who ended up winning? Is it a tie again?
Literally 16 votes, 50%, 50%.
Perfect, dude. Well, dude, we've tied the last 2 weeks, and Texas has won both. Okay, only 16 votes, dude. There are almost 700 people watching. Beautiful. I guess it's mostly over on X, but Yeah. So thanks to everybody for being here. We know most of you will watch this show tomorrow. So thank you guys so very much, man. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it we can't tell you how much we appreciate it. With the show continuing to grow and with the viewership trends all going up, man, it's all because of you guys. We work really hard to put on a good show and prepare for it, but we wouldn't be able to do it if it weren't for y'all. So thank you so very much. Thanks to Texas Beef Traders, Poncho Outdoors, My Perfect Franchise, Specs, Wine Spirits, and Finer Foods. No show tomorrow, but we will have programming throughout the week, throughout the day here on Orange Bloods Live. Next time Cody and I see you, we are going to know the outcome of Texas versus Ohio State, the game of the decade. So enjoy it, man. We're back. We're back to college playoff football, and it's happening right now. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.